to work on with the team. So we're going to do pros and cons. We're going to do how to organize a proposal in a very, very short bit, and then some helpful hints. All right. Let me wait 2 more. All right. So let's go to the pros and cons of writing a proposal. There's really laundry lists on both sides. In every company, it's a little unique for you depending on your infrastructure, your subject matter experts, your past performance, your experience. So all these things play into it. But overall, a couple of the cons that I want to bring out is, do not kid yourself that proposal writing is not expensive. You cannot, it's that old saying, you got to spend money to make money. You're just not going to be able to cheaply write proposals. It's just the way Uncle Sam's made it. He wants to get every bit of that blood out of you before he doesn't award it to you. Or if he does award it to you, you're grateful and you forget about how much you spent on it. But with that, do not forget, the problem we have in small business, we don't have that depth and that infrastructure. I work with Raytheon. I show up out in Arizona, and I go into a large building, and I check through all the passwords and give blood and everything else. And I get in this room, and there's 175 people. They're there to write a proposal. And when I tell you you're a tech writer, that's all you do, besides the snack table. Your graphics, you're the finance people, you're the HR people, you're the material supply people, and that's it. And you're all experts in your field. That proposal also cost them $2.6 million to write. They're going after a big contract, so it paid off. I don't know too many small businesses that have that. Normally what I see is, here's the graphics, tech writers, proposal managers, and the thing, 2 of them in your company. It's also, by the way, your day job is operations officer, and you're also the clerk, and you've got a few other things. So we just don't have the depth that we like in small business to put the proposal team dedicated. So that's important to remember early on. Those people all have day jobs, but they're going to stop doing something to do a proposal. So you're always going to have work put on hold, always something that, geez, that's going to have to slide back. You really need to look at that early on when you join a team, or in the case when you want to be a prime as a small business. That's how it affects the rest of your company. Time. I say in this, there's no low-hanging fruit in proposal writing. And what I mean by that is, if you're looking at a proposal and it has to be submitted in 30 days, you're behind the power curve. I'm not telling you don't do it. I'm just telling you you need to weigh the time as a huge factor. Not only because you don't have that massive infrastructure dedicated to it that you can work 20-hour days and knock it out, it's you don't have that infrastructure to dedicate to it. So time is one thing you can't throw anything at. You can't throw more bodies, more money, more thing to get more than 24 hours a day. We've tried. It doesn't work. You're only going to get 24 days. You can turn the clock back all you want, but that proposal date, it's got to go in on that date no matter what your clock says in the briefing. So, response time versus award time. Don't bank on getting the award at a set date. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but the government literally throws some dice out. Whatever numbers come up, they pick a month of the year, and that's the award date. I believe that to be the system. I could be wrong. They do print an award date. They have absolutely no problem changing it for you. They normally don't move it up, ever, because they're not supposed to, but they'll bounce it back and forth. One of the things I've seen that's worked very successful for us with companies is take that award date, build your timeline, reverse engineer it, and stick to it. If you get a mod down the road and it adds a week or 2 on it, great. That's great. But don't go changing everything because you got that time. Stick with that date and go with it. Hey, 5 days extra to sit around, look at a proposal or tweak a graph, that's just extra for you. Keep your team on the time. If you keep changing your timelines, your team will get confused with you. And I refer to a team, even if you're a sub, if you've ever had a prime that does that, oh, I need this document this date, and there's your mod, and they say, oh no, we'll take it this date, and we'll take it. You know what? Again, you don't have 50 people sitting around that you can just say, don't worry about that, we'll do it next week. So watch your time. That's a very critical part. Small business finding opportunities. I have here my pitch about gathering intelligence. I can't tell you how important it is to gather your intelligence. What do I mean by intelligence? An RFP is just paper instructions. It's where the government's going to tell you what they want. That's all they're putting in there. You'll read more into it. Trust me. It's everybody loves to read an RFP and come back with their own version. It's like that deal where if I whisper in your ear, by the time it gets over here, it's something different. You'll read a proposal, you'll read an RFP, I'll read it, we'll all read it, and we'll all pick out something different. Normally, because of our own personal past and what we key on. You know, the money folks in the room, they're looking at how many bodies got to be put in there. The HR folks, what labor categories do I need? Where do I get them? What are their level of expertise? The managers, the guys that operate there, they're worried about how does the schedule work? How deep do I have to go to get that covered in the RFP? Management, all we're worried about is can you win me a bunch of money cheap? So there's a bunch of different things when you read an RFP. The important part is they'll gather intelligence. Try to know who's the agency you're writing for. And what are they truly looking for? Don't add anything extra to that RFP. Just read what it is and stay focused on that. If you've ever been on an acquisition team, they drag you into a room. It's almost like being on a jury duty. And you were the guy who, oops, I got caught in the office, or I was out that day and they put the team together. They put you in a big room and they give you these volumes of proposals. And hopefully you're just a subject matter expert, or you might be the finance person, whatever. And they start saying, rank them. They may use, stoplight, green, red, yellow. They may use a numbering system. They may say strong, medium, weak. Whatever they're using, it really is irrelevant. We just want to always win. But what they do is they focus on what you write. And literally, most of the time, it's a matrix. And if they're asking for you to provide a subject matter expert who can do this, that's all they're looking for in your writing. So if you write 3 pages just to tell them you've got the subject matter expert that can do that, you're wasting space that you can sell them on something else for your company. Normally, there's a group that says these guys meet the requirement. What you want to do is use those few pages that you have to say, I not only meet the requirement, here's why you want to pick me, even if I'm a little more expensive. That's why you want to pick me. Don't waste your pages with fluff. Don't waste that time on the paper. Don't waste the time putting it on the paper. Subject matter experts write as subject matter experts. The problem you've got as the guys that are going to close the package up is if it's too technical, don't forget who's reading it on the other side. Engineers write like engineers. And if you've ever had the pleasure of reading what an engineer writes on a technical proposal, and you stayed awake for the whole thing, then you're a lucky person. What I'm telling you is take what they write and sit with them and say, this is our goal for our proposal. This is where we're trying to get. We just need you to give us that technical information to make it a strong, solid technical base. Don't need all this other stuff. You've lost it. So you help with that. You help corral the write-ups. That's very important. All right. I want to flip pros. Small businesses never sell your special titles and social economic status enough. I'll tell you, if you go in and talk to another small business, or you're going to be on a team, or you're going to talk to a large business, you tell them why they want you. And don't BS them. If you walk into Boeing, they're small business folks, and say to them, I do everything. All 7 of my people, we do everything. So whatever you need, we're your small business. They're going to say, yep, I got 750 other companies just like you do everything. You don't do everything. Pick what you do. Tell the truth. Tell them what you do. And start your conversation with, I am a disabled veteran. I am a woman owner. I am a hub zone. I am a small business. Period. Believe it or not, that just being a small business is one up. Small business set-asides. Look for those. When you're talking, and I'm not going to get into B&D, but when you're looking for opportunities, which is one of the things on our survey, as a small business, that's right out of the chute. You ought to be looking and focusing on small business set-asides. Granted, everybody else in the room is probably looking at it too, maybe, but it just, guess who's not? Raytheon's not. Now, I say that, Raytheon may have a nice small business prime for you that they're going to jump on the team with because they were an incumbent, now it's a set-aside and they can't play. And guess what? 49% of some work, and it's a lot of money, it's better than 0. So sell it. Sell your social economic status. It's one of the 3 things you've got. It's one of the good things for being a little guy. Streamlining your team, that's a pro. When you do go into these big guys, and medium-sized, the teams are so large they have communications is normally the biggest problem. Because there's 14 different leads for different groups, and they meet twice a day, and they communicate where this one's at, and getting a change or finding a mistake is a huge event. And everybody stops and backs up. Small companies, I'm telling you, it's normally 3 or 4 folks sitting around the table. And you can't beat that kind of communication, because you can also keep it focused on what your message is. Big guys tend to veer off until someone puts them back in, and then they veer off again. The little guys ought to stay right on the road. It's your task. I mean, you're talking across the table from the same guys you work with every day. So that should be an easy one. Much more manageable. If you're a prime as a small company, as long as you're organized, extremely easy to manage. That's very, and internally it's easy to manage. If you're a sub and you have to write to 3.2 section of the proposal, it's not a problem for you to manage it, because it's probably you and 2 other people writing it. So that's simple. Subcontracting. I can't tell small business enough. Everybody just wants to open their company up, get their license, go over and get a $3 million contract from the government. And that is the perfect world. It's just not the real world. It's a crawl, walk, run to be successful. Yes, there are plenty of examples out there. If someone was in the right place at the right time, or had that sugar daddy thing happen where they walked in and somebody said, come here, come with me, I'm mentoring you, get over here, here's $1.2 million, and add 20 people to your payroll, let's go. We're going to take care of you. God bless you. Those are few and far between. So it's okay to get 1 seat, 2 seats, 600 hours of consulting on a contract. Because I'll tell you what, your infrastructure may stop you anyways. I had a company one time calls me up and said, we're bidding on the security contract at Fort Rucker, Alabama. I said, excellent. I said, has your company changed since we last talked? No. It's still me, my wife, and my son working out of the kitchen office. I said, the contract has 780 employees, union, half union, half aren't. It's a 24/7 operation, trucks, cars, ammo, certification, blah, blah, blah. Well, I haven't read all that yet, but I know we're going after this. We want you to help write it. I said, no, you don't. I said, let's do this. Send me a check for this amount. We'll go out to dinner, and we'll be good. And we won't spend anything, because you'll save less money doing that than us writing this proposal. He said, Jim, I'm disappointed you don't want the work. I said, that's not it. I said, why would we waste your money and your time? He went on. He got somebody else, and he wrote his butt off. And he asked me to red team, and I was more than willing to go in the red team for him. And we got there, and guess what? He didn't understand what he was going after. He needed a line of credit of $2 million. If he didn't have $2 million in the bank, because he had to cover salaries for 90 days, he had to cover all these other, and the insurance killed him. He couldn't afford the insurance. So he spent all that money for the guy writing. He spent about 30, 60 days getting everything organized, got all excited, missed other opportunities at the same time, and then wasn't qualified to submit. I didn't say I told you so. I just said, now, can we go to dinner? Because I'm Italian and I'm always thinking dinner. But that's where gathering the intel is important for you. I read an RFP a minimum of 5 times before I make any decisions. And every time I read it, I take notes and jot it down, because that ends up being my matrix to check against, so I don't forget certain things, like the table of contents. But there's always somebody in the organization who's got good eyes. That's your person to bring on the team. Somebody who's not in it deep, not a subject matter expert, let them take a peek at it. They'll find things that we won't find. Less writing. As a sub, you're only writing to 1 or 2 key things. What can you do? I'm a small business. Hey, I'm a logistics company. So I want to write on a big contract, I'm going to write 3.21, 4.2, and 5.3. That's the only thing I want to do on this team. So all I do is submit 3 one-pagers on past performance and how I would execute. My prime may say to me, whether it's small or big, I like 5.1, but Jim, we got somebody stronger and better to do 3.2. We're going to use their past performance. Excellent. That's fine. Crawl, walk, run. So less writing. When you're a prime, you've got everything. And don't rely on the small business on the big guys writing your winning proposal. Because don't forget, they're there to help, but they're not going to do it for you. So that's important. Okay, how to organize. I'm trying to move quickly here. First and foremost, organize is the key. And before I even start the bullets, You've got to stay organized in proposal writing. I don't care, prime, sub, large, small, if you're submitting 3 pages, you've got to be organized. First thing is to understand the requirement. If you're just writing to one little piece, understand that piece of it. What does the customer want from you? What does he want from you to execute? And how do you tell him how you can execute that? You know, I can say, I can do this, but give them something. They love numbers. And don't make them up. Don't say 100% success on that when it isn't. They love something meaty. An example. At Fort Hood, Texas, we did this from this date to this date with this many people and saved the government this amount. Love that stuff, if you can give it to them. If you can't, just tell them how you're going to execute it. They love it. Build and validate your team. If you're the prime, that's critical. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of work that goes into that. It's not just as simple as saying, hey, we're going to be a prime. Because first of all, it's like winning the lottery. Every other company that you've ever known, seen, or heard of will call you up and go, hey, you're prime? I'm your man. And what cousin do you tell them can't be on the team, right? So we're working with a company now, and it's funny because we had a meeting the other day, and what we decided was there's 3 categories to be on the team. First category is there's value added to have that company there. They have a niche, something special they can do for us that we don't do. The second thing is it's payback. We're going to help them out because they helped us, put us on a team, gave us a couple seats and all that. The third thing was because the owner of the company who's prime of the team said put them on the team. That makes that one simple. And that's okay because if they don't work out later on, it's really to say, well, you know, boss, that's your guy who's put on the team for you. I don't know what that is. So, but really, other than that, you can build a huge team in a matter of minutes. It's like adding water to flour. Does that even do anything when you add water to flour? I don't know. But anyways, you'll grow a team very quickly. Be selective. This is business. It's not family. Well, actually, family's easier to be mean to. So be selective. Don't just put them on the team to put them on the team because they're dead weight you're carrying. And it happens, believe me. Okay, establish communications and responsibilities. If you do not establish the responsibilities of every person on your team organizing it and your team members from the beginning, you have to have an idea of what can this company do in the team. You know, a lot of it's going to depend on what they come in with cost for you. Maybe somebody else is cheaper and can do the same work because you want to be the lowest bidder. But you've got to be able to communicate, and people need to know right up front. Don't mislead them. Don't bring somebody on the team letting them think they're the only guy that can do that job on the team. Put a matrix out and say, here's the 7 tasks they require us to do in this proposal. We have 12 companies. 4 companies can do this. 2 large, 2 small. If we have a massive thing that the little companies can't handle, the big guy's going to get it. But if I give it to the smalls, I will. Also, I may break it up and give it to 2 smalls, so instead of a small company having 10 seats, maybe 2 small companies have 5. One, it's more manageable for them. They get some past performance. They get to grow. And oh, by the way, people don't forget. So coming down the road, those 2 companies may call you up and say, hey, remember when you helped us out on that? We got a proposal we're interested in. You want to get on our team? So it's all about networking. That's why luncheons like this are critical to meet folks. You never know 2 weeks from now where you're going to meet the guy again or somebody else call you up. Qualify your subject matter experts. If you don't have those subject matter experts in your company and know what they do and don't do truly, spend a few minutes, almost like an interview might be. Spend some time with them. Just because a guy comes from a big company doesn't mean he's truly the subject matter expert you're looking for to write that piece of the proposal for you. Remember, a proposal has, well, I think I have it later on, so I won't jump too far ahead. Okay, create the timeline. As I said earlier, reverse engineer it, create the timeline, and go with it. Establish a kickoff meeting. That is the first time your team will get together. That will establish you as an organized lead, or as a sub. Go to a kickoff meeting and make sure you participate. Document control, absolutely critical. I've seen great organization. They get in the middle of it. What was the last data call? I don't know. Where did the document say? I don't know. Where is it at? Who's got it? Is it edited? Got to have document control. Quality control of the documents. Pink and red teams. Bring in the right people to evaluate. Don't bring the writer who wrote it in to ask me how his work is, because I've never made a mistake when I write something. That, except for my professors. Lesson learned. Most important thing you can do. If you do not win on the team, you need to sit and get in the lesson learned and find out what you didn't do right. We're going to helpful hints because we're running out of time. Evaluate your responsibilities and level of effort. Stay active as much as possible. Lessons learned, prime yourself. Here's what I mean by that. You need to learn and fix your mistakes. If it's writing is bad, change it. Learn why it was bad. If you're too high in cost, figure it out. Sometimes you are just going to be too high in cost. You can only do it at your cost. So don't change what you do. Don't work for free, because it isn't going to happen for you. Also, whether you're a sub or a prime, if you're the prime, it's your responsibility to bring those subs back together and tell them why you didn't win, or tell them why you won. Share that information with them. Okay? Spend time to understand the RFP. I've talked about that. The statement of work, the proposal, the response time, the volumes, L&M, they tell you everything. They tell you the font size. I mean, I can't find an ease that's like a coloring book. Of course, I never stayed in lines there either. But it's simple. It's simple. They spell it out for you. Okay, determine the value added against the cost. Prep time and award amount. You, before in your opportunity, when you're identifying the opportunity, when you decide to go after it, the next step is, what's it going to take us to write this proposal? 20 hours? 500 hours? 3,000 hours? How many folks? What's their salaries? How much paper am I presenting? How many binders? What does it cost to send it? You should do a cost estimate of what you think it's going to do in a proposal. The big guys do that very well. Little guys need to do it more, because unless I'm mistaken, the big guys normally have bigger pocketbooks than we do. So our dollar spent hurts a little bit more. So make sure the value added, if you do win, and don't bank it on the company. Don't sit here and go, we're going to put everything in this, and we're going to win this no matter what, and we're good to go. Because then that's when you don't win it. And there's no guarantees in government contract you can win anything. So although the incumbent wins 70% of the time statistically, that doesn't mean even as an incumbent you're going to re-win it. So value added is very, very important. Continuity of the message throughout the proposal. The worst thing you can do is break up the writing, get all these different writings in from 4 or 5 companies, edit it real quick, slap it in the document, send it out. Because then when somebody reads it, they'll go, whoever wrote this isn't on track with this one. And definitely doesn't know the message that they're saying over here. You have got to make sure, even if other people write for you, that it's the same message. It sounds like one writer. And that's simple to do. I mean, once you do it a couple times, you can make it flow. You don't have to change what they're saying. It's just the message has to stay constant throughout. And there's multiple messages in there, but they have to stay persistent as a group. Attention to detail, I can't push that enough. I can't tell you how many times we've had pink and red and black teams, final reviews, and then we'll get there to put them in the binder and go, how come we have 2 page 6s? Because the number on the bottom didn't catch it. You really, it's just like you spend the time reading the RFP 80 times. You need to read your proposal 80 times before you ship it out, different ways. You know what? I got to be honest with you. Sometimes I'll take an admin and say, read this, please. And it's on lasers. I don't know what lasers are. But you know, they'll normally come back and say, this makes no sense to me. This doesn't even make sense right here. Not technically, just the way the sentence flows. Sometimes those outside folks really jump out at something. So please use them all. I mentioned the timeline and stick to it again. Always request a debrief if not awarded for your lesson learned. A lot of people just say, oh, we lost it. If you're a sub and you're on a team and you don't win the contract, your first phone call is to your prime and say, we would like to be included in the debrief. Now, I've seen great debriefs from the DOD. They're outstanding. They're real lessons learned. They're great notes. And then I've seen one that said, you didn't win. You can't force them to tell you anymore. But normally they want to tell you because you're the guy who's writing the next ones that are going to submit. And they want to see a better product from you because they want to be competitive. So lessons learned, debriefs. The government will provide a debrief. Ask the prime to give it to you if you're a sub. If you're the prime, please make sure you bring your team back together and give it to them. If they don't care, that's up to them. But it's a lesson learned. It's a way to learn. The last thing I'm going to say is, as a small business is, work with your large businesses. If they're writing, ask them if you can come in and assist and help. Ask them questions when you're there and why you're doing things. And if it's a small business with prime, do the same thing. Offer to help. Because I'll tell you, you'll learn something when you see how they're doing things. Sometimes you learn what not to do, and other times you learn what's really good for you to do. So, close?
Hey,
I don't think you have questions.
you're my hero.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.